Good evening, my name is Kacper Paradowski and you are watching Poland Daily News. Exactly in 2 hours, Poland will enter into the election silence period. It strikes at midnight, one full day before the election day, and will last until the closing of polling places this Sunday on July 12th. The latest opinion polls give equal chances to both candidates. All political observers point out that the key factor will be voter turnout and the decision made by undecided voters. Rafał Trzaskowski spent the last day of the campaign in Opole and Silesia. In turn, Andrzej Duda chose Podkarpacie and the Lublin region for the final events of his campaign. The last day of the campaign was used by both candidates to fight for every single vote. Rafał Trzaskowski will end his campaign with a rally in Rybnik just before midnight. There were times when we were in power. There were times when, while ruling the country, we made mistakes from time to time. In some instances, our opposition was better in diagnosing a given problem we were trying to tackle. I am honest and will give them credit for coming up with a better solution. Why not? I am ready to extend my hand to anyone with good ideas, to those who think differently. That includes those of you in the back with the banner of my opponent. I admire your courage. The finale of the campaign of incumbent President Andrzej Duda is taking place in Podkarpacie, which is in the Carpathian foothills and is considered the stronghold of the Law and Justice Party. However, the very last event, just before midnight, will be a meeting with the voters in the main square in Zamość. This is indeed our great ambition for the future. This is our promise to the young generation to give them Poland in such a shape that it gives them hope that one day our country will be a great country, just like centuries ago. But the task for today is to bring our country to a level of prosperity which is equal to other countries of the European Union. The chances of both candidates are very close. The results of the IPSOS election poll estimate an outcome of 50% for Andrzej Duda and 47% for Rafał Trzaskowski, with a substantial margin of 3% of undecided voters. The margin of error is given here as 3%. The second round of the election can go either way. Another pre-election opinion poll gives 45.3% to Rafał Trzaskowski and 44.4% to Andrzej Duda, with 10.3% of undecided voters. The race is very close, and the winner is to be announced on Monday or even later, when the Electoral National Office will receive the results from all election posts. The Polish Ministry of Health has reported 265 new coronavirus infections in the last 24 hours, 11 new deaths and 571 recoveries. The head of the ministry, Łukasz Szumowski, assures that the epidemic in Poland is in retreat and participation in the second round of elections on Sunday is safer than daily groceries. When I see what is happening inside stores and what was happening during the first round of the presidential election, I can confidently say that going to polling stations is more safe than doing groceries. At polling stations, everybody wore face masks. Only a set number of voters could enter the polling stations at once, while the rest would wait outside the building. Take a look at what is happening in our stores. People are walking around without face masks and gathering in crowds. It seems that during the election polls are taking the restrictions more seriously, which makes it a much safer activity than riding the bus or visiting your local grocery store. Today, the documents of the late General Ryszard Kuklinski, an exceptional figure in the recent Polish history, have been deposited in the Central Archives of Modern Records. Maria Osińska has more. Ryszard Kuklinski is often dubbed the first Polish officer in NATO. He protected the world from the Third World War by turning Soviet war plans into a vicious circle. As an agent working under the codename Jack Strong, he had been cooperating with American intelligence services since 1971, handing them top-secret documents containing strategic plans of the Warsaw Pact. He handed over nearly 40,000 pages of documents to the CIA. The documents that were handed over to the Central Central Archives of Modern Records concern Ryszard Kuklinski and Józef Szaniawski, who was sentenced to 10 years for cooperation with Radio Free Europe.
Szanowni Państwo, wśród tych dokumentów oprócz paszportu Ryszarda...
In addition to Ryszard Kuklinski's passport, which he received at the beginning of 1998 after he was rehabilitated in the view of the law in 1997, there are also powers of attorney. Ryszard Kuklinski's power of attorney for Józef Szaniawski, the last political prisoner of the People's Republic of Poland, who was my late father, to organize Ryszard Kuklinski's return to Poland. He planned the return to Poland in 2003, but unfortunately did not manage to do so, as he died in January 2004.
Powrotu do Polski Ryszarda Kuklińskiego, który planował swój powrót.
Ryszard Kuklinski's documents, which are in the possession of the Kuklinski Remembrance Chamber, were part of an exhibition which the chamber, together with the Central Archives of Modern Records, prepared several years ago. This exhibition has traveled to almost all of Europe and the world. The documents will be secured and maintained. First, we'll have to start with some basic research, which is to answer the question of the condition of these documents. This will mainly consist of deacidification treatments, because the physico-chemical changes that have occurred on that paper are very characteristic of acidified documents. We will learn this after conducting basic research. We also want to observe all documents under the microscope, especially this passport. We will try to meet those challenges. Ryszard Kuklinski was sentenced to death and confiscation of his property in a secret trial, as he was sentenced guilty of treason and desertion. In 1990, the death sentence was changed to 25 years imprisonment, while 5 years later the military court overturned the sentence passed in the 1980s. The discussion about the heroism of General Ryszard Kuklinski is still ongoing. He was called a spy and a mole by some, and a Polish Knight of Independence by others. He died in 2004 in Florida. The aim of his actions was to protect Poland from the consequences of possible Soviet aggression on Western Europe. Ryszard Kuklinski, posthumously promoted by Andrzej Duda to the rank of Brigadier General, risked death on numerous occasions. Nevertheless, he put the Polish cause in first place. The Black Lives Matter campaign against the statues and monuments symbolizing the anglo-saxon heritage of the United States has been broadened, as the far-left activists now vandalize statues of Hispanic heritage and those of Christopher Columbus in particular. The Spanish and Hispanic community in the US has had enough and is starting to fight back. Poland Daily spoke with Maria Herrera Mellado, an attorney at Law and Vox party representative in Florida, who started a petition urging the Spanish ambassador to the US and Spanish consuls to protect the Spanish heritage. The petition also points out the Marxist roots of the Black Lives Matter movement and their involvement in spreading communism in South America. The most recent case of a Columbus statue being torn down took place at the hands of Black Lives Matter protesters in the Little Italy neighborhood of Baltimore. Other Columbus statues have been taken down by the authorities, including in the city of Columbus, Ohio. A statue of the man who discovered the New World was also beheaded by Black Lives Matter protesters on June 10th in Boston. Attacks against other Spanish statues, such as the one of Saint Junipero Serra, the patron saint of California, have also been recorded. Maria Herrera Mellado, who launched the petition to have authorities act against the vandalism, also points out that the Black Lives Matter movement has communist roots.
We saw last weekend how the same group of people took down the statue of Christopher Columbus. We have drafted a letter to the Spanish ambassador, other Hispanic ambassadors in the United States, mayors and governors. We're really asking them to take a step forward to protect our heritage, our legacy, and not let these self-proclaimed Marxists to destroy the history of this great nation.
All three founders of the Black Lives Matter movement are communists and have previously admitted to it in public.
think that we actually do have an ideological frame. We are trained Marxists.
Opal Tometi, the third founder of the Black Lives Matter, also responsible for their social media operation, was photographed with Venezuelan communist dictator Nicolas Maduro in 2015. Continued attacks on Hispanic heritage statues could cost the Democratic Party this autumn's presidential election, as around 35 million Americans are of Hispanic descent. That's all for tonight. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for Poland Daily Business. Good night.